Have you ever thought about what it would be like to live in a city that was, for a time, literally the center of the world? A place just buzzing with incredible inventions, art, and knowledge. Well, today, we're going to dive into the amazing story of Baghdad's Golden Age. I mean, just try to picture this. A city designed completely from scratch to be, well, perfect. It wasn't just a capital city. It was an idea. It was a magnet for the smartest people on Earth, all gathered in one place to build the future. So the big question is, how did this amazing place even happen? Well, it all kicked off with a huge change at the top. See, before you can build a city like Baghdad, you kind of need a brand new empire to rise up and take charge. Okay, so to really get this era, we've got to understand a key term, caliphate. Basically, think of it like an empire, but the ruler, the caliph, isn't just a king or a president, he's also the top religious leader. It's like having both jobs in one, and that unique system shaped this entire civilization. Right, so the big turning point happens in the year 750. A family called the Abbasids comes into power, and they promise a new, more open kind of empire. So what's their first big move? They pack everything up and move the capital way over from Syria to what's now Iraq. And that one single decision, it lights the fuse for one of the most brilliant periods in all of human history, the Islamic Golden Age. Okay, so you're this new dynasty. How do you build your spectacular capital? Well, they didn't just pick some old city and move in. Nope, they created one from the ground up with a design that was nothing short of genius. The plan was so smart. Step 1, find the absolute best location, right on a major river. Step 2, make the city a perfect circle. Why? Because it's super easy to defend. Step 3, stick the most important buildings, the Caliph's Palace and the Grand Mosque, right in the middle, like a bullseye. And step 4, build 4 massive gates, like a compass, connecting the city to the rest of their vast empire. And here's the part that's just mind-blowing. The speed. We're talking about a massive, perfectly engineered city with huge, thick walls and grand palaces, and thousands of workers built it in just 4 years. Can you believe that? 4 years to create what was, at the time, the biggest city on the planet. That location was no accident. The Tigris River was the city's lifeblood. It gave them everything: fresh drinking water, water for all their farms, a superhighway for trade, and even a natural wall against their enemies. They even got creative and made these floating boat bridges just by tying boats together to get from one side to the other. Honestly, that river was the key to everything. But here's the thing. Baghdad wasn't just a big, impressive city. It became the intellectual capital of the planet, kind of like the world's brain. This was the place where learning and new discoveries were just exploding. And right at the heart of all of this was a place called the House of Wisdom. And listen, this was way more than just a library. Think of it like a global university. The caliph invited the smartest people he could find from all over. It didn't matter what their background was, and their one job was to translate every important book they could get their hands on into Arabic. They were collecting and upgrading all of human knowledge in one place. You know algebra, that stuff you do in math class? Well, guess where it came from? Right here, in Baghdad's House of Wisdom. A scholar named Al-Khwarizmi developed this totally revolutionary way of using symbols to solve problems. It took math beyond just counting things and into a whole new world of logic. And yeah, his work is pretty much the foundation for the math we all learn today. And it wasn't just algebra. They also helped popularize a much better way of using numbers. Before this, people were stuck with really clunky systems like Roman numerals. I mean, try doing long division with those. It's a nightmare. So scholars in Baghdad promoted a way better system from India, the numerals we use today, including the game-changing idea of zero. This made everything from science to business so much easier. The progress in medicine was just astonishing. They set up the world's first public hospitals, where care was free for everyone. Doctors figured out that hygiene was super important for stopping the spread of germs. They had pharmacies mixing specific medicines, surgeons performing complex operations, and get this, medical students actually had to pass an exam before they could become doctors. This was basically the blueprint for modern healthcare. So what was it really like to walk through the streets of this incredible city? What would you see? What did people do every day? Baghdad was a buzzing global crossroads for trade, art, and culture. I mean, it was the center of world trade. You had caravans showing up from the Silk Road in China, carrying silk and spices. You had ships sailing in from Africa and India, loaded with gold, ivory, and precious gems. The whole city was just one giant, bustling international marketplace. And what was the secret ingredient fueling all of this progress? You might be surprised. It was paper. Yep, paper. After learning the secrets of papermaking from China, they built mills all over Baghdad. All of a sudden, paper was cheap and easy to make. That meant books were no longer a luxury for just the super rich. For the first time, knowledge could actually be shared with everyone. The art from this time was so unique. Instead of painting people, artists perfected a style called arabesque, which used these incredibly complex and beautiful geometric and floral patterns. And writing itself became a high art form. Calligraphy was one of the most respected skills you could possibly have. And you could see this style everywhere, especially in the architecture with its huge domes and stunningly colorful tiles. But as we know, even the brightest golden ages can't last forever, and Baghdad's was no different. So, what went wrong? How did this amazing era start to fade? Well, the first cracks actually started to show from the inside. The empire had just gotten too big. It was incredibly difficult to rule such a massive territory from just one city. Local governors got more powerful, they started to break away, and they stopped sending tax money to Baghdad. Slowly but surely, the empire began to fracture. So the whole journey lasted about 500 years. It all kicked off in 750, hit its absolute peak around the year 800, and then slowly began to weaken over the next couple of centuries until the final devastating blow came in 1258. In 1258, Mongol invaders arrived. They didn't just conquer Baghdad, they sacked the city, destroying almost everything, including the legendary House of Wisdom. They say the Tigris River ran black with the ink from all the books that were thrown into it. It was a truly catastrophic loss of human knowledge. The destruction of Baghdad really was the end of an era. But it leaves us with this fascinating question. Think about all that lost knowledge in science, in math, in philosophy. If the House of Wisdom and all of its books had survived, what discoveries might we have made sooner? What might our world look like today? It's incredible to think about.